Donald Trump has ruled out the use of force against Greenland, but at what cost? The region was threatened for months, its prime minister prepared for an invasion, and Europe felt betrayed like never before. Why? All because Greenland is an autonomous region.
Greenland is a vast, almost entirely uninhabited and undeveloped territory. It's sitting undefended in a key strategic location between the United States, Russia, and China.
If they say that Denmark was there 300 years ago or something with a boat, well, we were there with boats too, I'm sure.
Every NATO ally has an obligation to be able to defend their own territory. And the fact is, no nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States. Big, beautiful piece of ice. It's hard to call it land. It's a big piece of ice.
Does it still include the United States having ownership of Greenland like you've said you wanted? He's got a hand.
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal. And I think it puts everybody in a really good position.
So if the US can wake up one day and threaten its 200-year-old friend, what's the message for other autonomous regions? Let's find out. Firstly, an autonomous region is a very loosely defined term. It's a region that has a degree of independence to make its own decisions. But the degree keeps varying and is dependent on external factors, which is where our story lies today. Greenland is a success story. It is one of the few indigenous groups that have transitioned into a modern society without sacrificing its own identity. They have their own parliament, political institutions, and education system. Their defense, foreign policy, and welfare services are all outsourced to Denmark. The journey to this day hasn't been smooth at all, but with just 50,000 people, they have managed to stand tall. Even then, they became a victim of changing geopolitics. If you want to understand why the US calls Greenland essential to its national security policy, you can watch our earlier video by clicking on the top right corner. But think about the circumstances. Denmark is an ancient ally, part of the NATO grouping, and has never been an obstacle whatsoever. Yet it came so close to being invaded. What about others? The tension shows up more starkly in Taiwan. The region doesn't call itself autonomous, but functionally it is. It governs itself, elects its own leaders, controls its borders, its currency, and produces over 60% of the world's advanced semiconductors. Yet, most of the world does not formally recognize it as a state. This ambiguity is deliberate and dangerous because the world does not want to lock permanent horns with China. In 1949, after being defeated by Mao Zedong's communist forces, the Republic of China government fled and moved its capital to Taiwan. Mao set up the People's Republic of China, which is headed by Xi Jinping as we speak, and claimed it was the only legitimate Chinese government for the whole of China, including Taiwan. So in modern words, Beijing sees Taiwan as part of its one country, two system policy. The United States supports Taiwan's military, but avoids formal recognition for the same reasons we mentioned earlier. Every Taiwanese election becomes a geopolitical event. Every Chinese military drill around the island alarms the neighbors. In fact, the Xi Jinping government has said that it will use force if Taiwan tries to assert its independence, which tells the world Taiwan's autonomy is tolerated, not accepted by China. Also, this autonomy creates risk, not just for Taipei's future, but for the regions. Japan has been the most vocal recently. Tokyo is rightfully worried that any misunderstanding over Taiwan can cause catastrophic repercussions for the South China Sea, and hence Japan. Hong Kong is another stark case study in the world of autonomous regions. It started strong, but came crashing down. When Britain handed Hong Kong back to China in 1997, Beijing promised a high degree of autonomy for 50 years. Separate courts, free press, civil liberties. That promise was written into the basic law and registered with the United Nations. But autonomy without enforcement often turns out to be fragile. And it did. After mass protests in 2019, China imposed a sweeping national security law in 2020. Opposition politicians were jailed or disqualified, media outlets shut down, electoral rules were rewritten, and by the mid-2020s, it was clear that Hong Kong's autonomy existed largely in just the name. Iraqi Kurdistan shows what happens when autonomy tries to move forward without protection. After decades of repression, the Kurdistan regional government gained constitutional autonomy under Iraq's 2005 constitution. It had its own parliament, security forces, and independent oil contracts, oil being very, very crucial here. Then in 2017, it held an independence referendum. The Electoral Commission claimed over 92% voted yes. Baghdad did not like any of this. It declared the vote illegal. Iraqi forces moved back into disputed territories. International airlines suspended flights. Neighbors like Turkey and Iran immediately closed their borders and threatened intervention. Today, Baghdad controls oil exports, budgets, and the legal boundaries of Kurdish self-rule. The message was clear. Autonomy is tolerated only as long as it is on the terms of the guarantor. So if this is how autonomous regions have been treated, should Greenland have been prepared? The short but the harsh answer is yes. There are peaceful success stories as well. Finland's Åland Islands, Denmark's Faroe Islands, places where autonomy works quietly. But geopolitics today is anything but quiet. Glaciers are melting, alliances are shifting, AI is becoming the big thing. So how safe can autonomy be in today's climate? That's a question we'll leave for you. Thank you so much for watching Hindustan Times. I'm Ananya Dutta.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.